And that, of course, is how deceased pedophile Jeffrey Epstein was able to operate with impunity at the highest echelons of American society. How he was enabled by some of the richest and most powerful people across the world, and how ultimately this story isn't just about a sexually deviant monster, but it's about the rotten core that lies at the American elite. The Epstein story is kind of like covering the weather. Sometimes it rains, and when it does, it pours. Yesterday was one of those days when the New York Times detailed the long and unknown financial and personal connections between billionaire Wall Street magnate Leon Black and Jeffrey Epstein. Black, for context, is worth $9 billion. It's not an exaggeration to say that he's a titan on Wall Street, one of the best-known money managers in the world. And while it was known that Black and Epstein had a relationship in the past, which he had even apologized to his investors for, new records actually obtained by the Times showed just how deep and dirty that it was. The Times reports that Black reportedly wired Epstein between $50 to $75 million in the years between 2012 and 2017. That is critical because it means all of the money that was wired to Epstein after he was a convicted sex offender in the state of Florida. And of course, the question arises, what was Epstein doing for all of this money? Well, Black doesn't have a good answer. As the New York Times puts it, Black, with his financial resources, could buy the very best counsel in the world. And yet, according to his own spokesperson, he paid Epstein exorbitant sums for advice on, quote, personal trusts and estates planning advice, as well as family office, philanthropy, and investment services. So the Times reporting is once again a view into how transactions between the ultra-wealthy are conducted and the lengths that they go to avoid public disclosure.
Piece of the story. The other part that is always so critical in the story is it exposes just this two-tier of, as with all inequality in our country, two-tiered system of justice, right? These banks, whether it's Epstein or drug cartels or whoever, if you have billions of dollars, they will happily look the other way, and law enforcement will look the other way. Alex Acosta was the Trump labor secretary after he gave Epstein this ridiculously sweetheart plea deal down in Florida where he was like on work release hanging out at his fancy office rather than actually serving time. It looks very much like that deal actually was itself illegal and violated the rights of the survivors who were involved. So,
as we know, Trump has no problems with criminals. He has no problems with hiring frauds. He's done it time and time again. I think the latest example that I had found in my investigations was, if I'm not mistaken, I gotta Google this, I think Dr. Oz, who was already being looked at for some fraudulent behavior, and somehow yeah, 2018, Dr. Oz to join Trump administration's Council on Sports. So this guy, known to be a quack doctor fraud, already under investigation, and Trump is like, yeah, let's hire him. But it doesn't matter. Donald Trump can hire as many frauds and the worst people, and it won't really affect him by people who love him, because they'll say, well, you know, he didn't know, or he's not the one that directly hired him. It was his assistant who was supposed to vet him, and blah, 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 blah. Teflon Don.
So not only Epstein gets away with it for so long, he's put on boards, is vetted, is in high society, etc., but the people who enabled him continue to ascend to the highest heights of American power.
Well, and that's the thing look, this man is going to pay no price for this. Let's be honest. Apparently his stock took a hit. Okay, it's a one-day story. We all know the reality here. Nobody's actually, as long as he's delivering funds, he's going to be fine. And he's going to face no consequences. And people keep asking me, they're like, is anything ever going to happen? I'm like, yeah, probably not. This is, we have to be honest here. I think Ghislaine Maxwell will probably go to jail. The rest of them, no, they're going to walk scot-free. They get away with this stuff all the time. Look at how I had to lay out those wire transfers. Entities connected to Black and entities, the holding company which owns the yacht to a holding company which owns this, and then bank transfers of philanthropic stuff, which then gets billed to private company. It's money laundering. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure there's all on the up and up, and it was 100% tax-free, right? No. This is how they get away with it over and over again. And you can just see through a peek in the Epstein case, that's how you get the Deutsche Bank files. And you're like, whoa, what is going on here?
Right.
In terms of their internal processes. And like I said, if this is what they do with Epstein, I mean, who else are these people doing business with? Same.
Donald Trump. And just like he said, gonna get away with it. I mean, forget about Epstein. I definitely believe Donald Trump he's definitely got his claws deep in this. I know, again, people who like him, they're apologists. So it's like no matter what comes up, you know, unless he's caught on video punching someone, it's just a rumor. They probably made it up. They have this unrealistic expectations. And, you know, it's the mainstream media is trying to smear him. They're trying to make something of nothing. A lot of people love to focus on he kicked him out of the club. It's just like, I just don't understand. It's like people don't seem to understand how the world works. You know what I mean? If I'm buddy with some sex trafficker dude and he's a member of my club and he messes with one of my other members' daughters or something, of course I'm going to kick him out. Why is that evidence that Trump is innocent and he didn't like the guy? The guy touched her. I mean, Trump himself has done shady stuff with women. I mean, look at how he's referred to his own daughter in a sexual manner. He has made inappropriate comments about underage girls multiple times in public. You really think a guy like that had a problem with Epstein? Now, even if he didn't get involved in Epstein with any underage girls or sex trafficking stuff, even if he didn't, you really think Donald Trump is the type of guy who cares? He's gonna look at a guy like Epstein and say, "You're sick." This is the guy who Maxine, whatever her name is, gets caught, and Trump, who insults and attacks everyone, all he says is he wishes her well. Why would Donald Trump, the pit bull, I mean, teenage girl inside, but the verbal pit bull, like he's all talk, right? Why would the verbal pit bull Donald Trump have nothing to say about a woman involved in sex trafficking? And again, the apologists. If you love Donald Trump, you love to make excuses. So it's going to be like, well, you know, innocent until proven guilty. And you know, Donald Trump doesn't wait until proven guilty. When has Donald Trump ever respected law and order, man? Donald Trump will tweet about anyone at any time. He literally does it in the middle of a case. You are in the middle of a case and Donald Trump is tweeting about that case, attacking people. This is the man we're talking about. But now a woman involved in sex trafficking and he's got nothing to say. If this were, for people who like Trump, if this were anybody else, you'd be like, man, he knows something. He was probably involved. I guarantee you if this was Bill Clinton, and Bill Clinton definitely looked like he was involved too. If Bill Clinton wished Maxine, I almost don't want to say Waters, wished her well, I guarantee you all the Trump fans would be like, man, he is guilty. Why would he wish a sex trafficker well? Trump does it. He's just trying to respect the process. She hasn't been convicted. She might get away. Don't insult my intelligence. At a minimum, Donald Trump knows something. At a minimum. Did he do anything with any underage girls? Very likely. But I got no evidence, so I can't say that. But I wouldn't be surprised. Donald Trump is not a good man. Not at all. But the apologists would say, who's a good man? There's so many people that are so evil. Come on, guys. Stop playing games.
Same thing whenever we got the FinCEN files. You're like, oh man, you can see this whole... Because that's what we wondered. We were like, how did it get away with this? You're like, oh, this is like a tiny sliver in this huge system that's been architected to protect and fund and funnel all these people. And the craziest part is the complicity of the government, which is that as they have architected and written the laws such that as long as they file these fake, like, suspicious reports, then they're good. They will face no legal consequences.
Yeah.
And that's the real scandal. Oh, and it's secret. The only reason it even came out is because of FOIA requests and leaks. Same thing here. We only know this because the Deutsche Bank got fined for its relationship with Epstein. Otherwise, you never would have known.
here in New York.
And what a kiss.
You kissed me on the lips in front of the paparazzi, and I said, that'll cost you. I'm booking you on the show.
I know, that's good.
True story,
The
correct?
kiss was so good, and it was so open and nice. She is a fabulous woman. And I
So
get sad
open and
stories.
nice. Wait a
And
minute.
her husband is a handsome devil, I'll tell you. He's a good guy. But I think he had his back turned at the time.
Yep. Creepy. Let's do a quick check to see if
Enter
anyone's talking
keywords.
about this. This is definitely seems to be a blacklist story. There have been several updates. The Hill is one of the only people that are willing to talk about this. You gotta wonder, why
Epstein.
is
Searching.
major news organizations like Fox News not interested? I wonder why that is. So Steve Turley picked it up, The Hill picked it up, and it's not even liberals or conservatives. Nobody
Search
cares.
complete. I found 2 hits. Opening pages now.
We get a bombshell story about Epstein, and yet again we see a pattern of lack of
All
interest
pages opened.
across the board. So Steve Turley does an actual piece about this. Bombshell revelations. So I'm gonna guess the reason why Turley is interested in this is not because he actually cares about the morality of it or anything, but it's because the Clintons and other political opponents are potentially tied up in it. Now, so is Donald Trump, but just like how they make fun of Biden because of his gaffes, meanwhile Trump is the gaffe king and almost the same age. I guarantee you, if we find anything else about about Trump being involved in this, they'll talk about it, but they'll talk about it in terms of it's unfounded, it's anonymous sources. That's their job, cheerlead for Trump. But that's it. Nobody cares. The Hill, Steve Turley, and myself, the only ones reporting about Epstein. And again, this is not the first time we've had a new bombshell in that case, and it doesn't really get coverage. Just out of curiosity, let's take a look at Fox News Channel. Just a major news network. They're so big that a lot of times when stories tend to get blacklisted on conservative side, Fox News will cover it. I mean, they'll play defense for the conservative side and Donald Trump, but they'll at least cover it, while the independent conservative channels will just ignore it, pretend like they don't see it. So they should definitely, a big news network like Fox News should definitely have a lot of Epstein stuff. Epstein. This channel search sucks. I don't know why YouTube is such a failure. So they did have an update 2 months ago. And of course, it's an update regarding Bill Clinton. Of course, another update regarding Bill Clinton. Yep. A chance to attack the liberals. Friends of Epstein are probably terrified 3 months ago. So they've been covering this. A lot of focus on Clinton, but they've been covering this. They don't seem to care about the Wall Street billionaire story that just came out. Yeah, Fox is all over this. And I guess it makes sense because there's a lot of conspiracy theory people in the conservative circles. I keep hearing stuff about sex trafficking and I mean, in fairness, clearly there was some kind of sex trafficking going on, but the stuff I'm hearing people talk about is on a whole different level. Let's compare this to CNN. This is CNN's level of interest. A year ago. CNN? Please don't tell me the last time you covered this was a year ago. When he first got arrested. Acosta defending his role when he was found dead. Okay, so they do have a story from 2 months ago. But it's a hit on Trump. I mean, fair enough. That's kind of ridiculous that all he had to say is, I wish her well. Was not a good look, but only people who don't like him will recognize that fact. A year ago, so they haven't really been covering this. It's mainly a year ago. I don't know why this Al Gore from 10 years ago, I don't know why this comes up. That's weird. A heckler calls Clinton a rapist. You see how it's all over the place? This is the thing that sucks with their search. Why am I getting a year ago, 2 months ago, a year ago? And it's always been trash. The ability to search YouTube videos on a channel sucks. 3 months ago, like what? And I don't think there's a sorting. Yeah, there's no sorting option here. There was one before, it didn't work. 9 years ago, like what is this? But you see the distinct difference between this and Fox News. This is mainly from a year ago, and then they kind of didn't really care anymore. Look at Fox. 2 months ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 11 months ago, 1 year ago. All right, so the 1 year, so now this is all the old stuff. There's another 11 months ago, 11 months ago, 9 months ago. So a couple of them that are 9 and 10 months ago, another 10 months ago, 3 months ago. They post a lot of stuff about it on Fox. CNN seems to only have way back when he first got arrested. And lately they don't seem to care. New bombshell. None of them care. Fox News didn't cover it. CNN didn't cover it. MSNBC didn't cover it. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about Epstein's sex scandal.